welcome to Dakota Growing. I'm Kelsey Deckert, your horticulture agent here in Burleigh County, joined in the radio access studio by my co-host Tom Kalb, NDSU Extension horticulturalist. How we doing?
Everything's good, Kelsey.
End of October, nice chilly morning this morning.
Yeah, there's frost on the lawn this morning. Yeah, it's a nice time, nice chilly, football season. Put another blanket on the bed and kind of slowing down outside a little bit. But
the days are shorter.
Days are definitely getting shorter, man.
Yeah.
And did you hear, we're going to get a terrible winter, it sounds like. It's going to be cold and snowy.
Like
I think it's true. I really hope they're
don't
wrong.
know. I did hear, though, that there's like a prediction of a Colorado low coming up next week for Halloween. But
What does that mean? Snow?
Means potential of snow. Everything's a potential, though, right?
That's right.
So, do you enjoy this time of year? You like the cool, crisp mornings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
do
nice.
too. I like it, and then I like when we get up to about 60 degrees, too, still. That feels good.
Yeah.
Feels really good.
It is nice and sunny, and you see the maples are really radiant now.
Oh, the color is
Yeah, they're nice.
fantastic out there.
So it's a good time.
It is. It is. Do you got your garden put away for the year?
Well, we're going to be talking about that
We're going to talk
shortly.
about it? I just thought I'd ask you about your garden.
I actually, I got a lot of work to do still, so
Okay.
that's why I'm worried about that snow. But
Time's a ticking.
we'll see. We'll
Okay.
get it done.
Should we just get started,
Yeah.
dive in? All right, well, today I'm going to talk to you guys about protecting our pollinators through the winter.
Oh.
Do you notice a lot of pollinators at your place? I would hope with your garden.
Actually, one of the things I found this year is how zinnias are really attracting a lot of butterflies this year. A lot of people across the state have sent me that report. But actually, there are a lot of bugs in my house, I'll tell you that, man. A lot of cluster flies and I don't know how.
I just have to say, I
Crickets.
still have, I have some of those stripy winged flies.
Yeah.
And then just, the really big fat
Window pane
ones.
flies.
Yeah. So then it's every day they're up, on the windows or up at the ceiling. And then I come back the next day, it's graveyard. I gotta sweep them up.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is.
They're really slow and they just die.
Yeah. They're pretty,
Well, that's life, huh?
right. Okay,
Is
well,
that is that the same with pollinators, too?
we're going to talk a little bit
Okay,
about
that's
that.
it.
So we're going
Wondering.
to dive in. So just to highlight some of the pollinators of our state, mainly we have the bees, the butterflies, and the moths. And so under the bees, you see we have a lot of different different families that we see within our state. And same way with the butterflies and moths as well. So we got quite a few pollinators in our state if we're focusing just on the bees, butterflies, and moths. So right now, big things that, I feel like there's a big movement for pollinators, right? We talk about
Yeah.
pollinator gardens and everything like
Bee
that.
lawns.
Bee lawns, yep. So I know NDSU is just coming out with a new publication on that. So really what people are concerned about as we see some of these pollinators make endangered species lists and stuff is main concerns is pesticides, different pathogens, whether that's a parasite that they get or viral, and then our habitat loss. So, pathogens and stuff, probably not a lot we can do on our end, but we can do stuff about the pesticides and the habitat, which is good. So just to highlight, I'm going to start off about bees today. And so just two of the most common bees that we see within our state, the bumblebee and the honeybee, and just kind of giving everybody that background a little bit of their life cycle. So a bumblebee will have an annual nest, and the queen is going to select a site, and then she starts a colony. The offspring are going to be workers who take over that colony's responsibilities, and then in late summer we'll start seeing the colony produce males and females, and after they mate, the fertilized females will go underground to hibernate for the winter.
So what happens to those hard-working bees? They just get frozen?
Graveyard.
Frozen?
Yeah, they don't make it.
They live 1 year, less than a year, huh?
Less than a year. And then our honeybee, so in North Dakota, they really struggle to overwinter unless they have
Same with us.
Right. Well, we always talk about why our winters are so good in the aspect of minimizing
killing bugs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But how about bees? We don't want to kill the bees.
We don't. No. So these honeybees, most of them in our state actually get sent to California.
Oh, the ones in the colonies.
Yeah, they go, which I've noticed in the last month. Of course, I live out of town, so I see the people who get hives for the year and everything like that. And so they've really been collecting them.
I think inside the hive, they have a way to stay warm.
They do.
Are you going to talk about that?
I wasn't, but do you have some information you want to
is
share?
They take turns.
Oh.
Like you got the queen in the center.
Okay.
And then the workers, they flutter their wings to keep warmth going. And then they take turns. Like, okay, now, because they're a team, right?
Yeah.
Bees are teams, right? Social animals. So they take turns like, okay, you got to go to the outside now. It's outside of our group. Like they're in a big huddle. So like if you're in the inside of the huddle, it's warmer.
Yeah.
But then when you're on the outside, the rim of the huddle gets colder.
Really? Yeah.
So, you got to take turns. So they just kind of rotate in the huddle all winter. And they're just buzzing away. And they got the food. Right? They got the food. So they can survive off that.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. The team approach of these bees are amazing. The honeybees, I should say.
Yeah. They're good workers.
But those bumblebees just die, huh? That's it. Huh?
Well, except for that female.
Just those females,
Those females are gonna
fertilize females.
They're gonna go take a nap for the winter.
Okay.
So if we kind of break down the two big in the bee categories, 70% of our bees live in nests below ground, and then 30% are going to live in cavities. And so if we want to look at accommodating like those ground nesting bees, some things you could do. Like right now, people are in their yard, right?
Yep.
Working, and you're going to talk about those
Yep.
last minute tasks. But we could leave some dry, bare ground, especially if you have like bare spots in your lawn, rather than trying to overseed them back in September and stuff. You can leave them because they'll come in and that's where they're going to go make their nest for the winter. Just those nice little areas. If you plant some bunch grasses, that also is a good spot for them to select as shelter. And then even just leaving our perennial flowers, like you don't need to cut them back right now. So this next, I took this picture from one of the publications out there, so I got the photo credit. I know it's really tough for our viewers to see, but if you have a chance to go look up nesting and overwintering habitat for pollinators and other beneficial insects, great publication on that. But it talks about, like, in this photo you see a coneflower, and so it talks about in the springtime how those bees come in and they find those stems, and they actually will go ahead and lay their eggs in there, and then they'll come out throughout the year. And then when we get to the winter time and stuff, again, don't cut them back till next spring, so they can actually have that home. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Some people like to cut them because it's kind of messy.
Right.
But, they also collect snow. That's a nice thing if you leave it stand, and and it's good for wildlife and bees and wildlife, and birds appreciate the seeds of the seed heads. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I'm gonna leave.
Just gonna leave your one.
Just leave them. Let them just naturally go back. And
you're a naturalist, aren't you?
Minimalist.
Minimalist.
Yeah.
You mean lazy?
Maybe when it comes to the yard work, I don't know. Nature is good, and yeah, I don't.
That's right.
I don't feel the need to go and.
Don't have to dominate nature.
Exactly.
Just enjoy it. Let it be.
Right.
I think there's a song called it.
That's right. Let it be, huh?
Hey.
There we go.
I like that.
All right. So one other thing that you can do is you can create a bee house. These insect hotels are really taking off. Basically, the cavity bees will utilize hollow stems or holes within wood. So some materials you could use is like a wood box, get some pine cones, loose bark, moss, hollow plant stems, like Joe Pye weed is a really good one. And then wire mesh, they talk about being optional on there, just again to kind of help keep out some of the prey that they have, which ironically, this last weekend, our 4-H group went and made bee houses. So the kids really enjoyed creating their own little bee house. I had to let ours dry, so probably next year it'll get put out in the flower bed. But if you're gonna create one, location is gonna be key. So you kind of want that around 3 to 5 feet off the ground, secured to like a fence post or some other structure that you can have, and make sure that it's facing the southeast to provide that warmth for the bees throughout the day. And then just some tips. You could use something as simple as this picture, just getting a block of wood and putting different size holes in there. If you go, basically the bigger the hole it is, the deeper it should go into that wood block. And then make sure to use untreated wood and clean it out every few years. Got any bee houses at your place? No. You ever do that as a project?
Not really interested in that that much. Yeah.
That's okay.
Bees are on their own in my life.
Yeah. Let them be. Okay, let's talk a little bit about butterflies then.
Okay.
So again, people need to understand the life cycle of our butterflies. Egg, caterpillar, pupae, and then we go into the adult. So how do butterflies, overwinter in North Dakota?
That's easy.
How do they overwinter?
Well, they fly to the airport and they hop on a wing and they hope that the flight's going south.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then they go just
Hopefully
south,
they
right?
get on the right plane, and actually, you're going to talk about the monarchs, are you?
I don't have a specific slide, but let's talk about the monarchs.
Wow, it's amazing what they do.
Yeah, it is amazing.
The monarchs, the North Dakota monarchs, have one of the longest migration paths of any.
Like 1,600 miles, I think, right? Down to Mexico?
Yeah, and it's just astounding that they hibernate in the same villages as their grandparents do. For some reason, they have it in their DNA that they know exactly what village to go down to. It's just astounding. And the other thing is that they can fly like about 20 miles a day. Those little flimsy butterflies, man.
Yeah.
That's it's impressive. And I think it's an amazing thing.
I think because I always talk to, like on Earth Day, I talk to kids about pollinators and we talk about the monarchs. The fact that it takes 5 to 6 generations in the spring to get up here. So you say grandparents, but it's really like their great-great-great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And then 1 generation to make it back in the fall.
Yeah, something
That's
like
crazy.
I don't know why, but yeah, it's but they're smart enough to leave North Dakota when it gets cold.
Yeah.
That's
like
I
the
salute
snowbirds
them.
of
That's
North
right.
Dakota,
Exactly.
right?
So
Arizona, here we come.
but those are monarchs. I think a lot of butterflies are just stupid like bumblebees and they just freeze, right? Isn't that just a lot of them just get frosted?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It depends on our species of the butterfly, but some of them are going to overwinter as eggs. Some of them are partly grown. Some are in that chrysalis stage. And it's pretty rare that we have a species that wing adult overwinter. So, what can we do for those butterflies? 1, we talked about pesticides earlier. Don't spray your weeds in your lawn. We don't want to kill off any of those. Right? We want to create that habitat, that inviting spot for them.
I'm not
to say,
supposed to
"I'm gonna
spray my
overwinter."
lawn at all?
I don't spray mine.
I would. I think one way to think about this, it's all compromise.
It is pros and cons.
That's right. So, got to be for sure judicious about the use of pesticides. Maybe limit your spray to maybe 1 time in the fall, for example. Mm-hmm. Don't be spraying every month or something. But and also you can, because the weeds, you think they provide food for the pollinators. Is that your angle there?
Some shelter.
Yeah, just grow some flowers or something too, you know.
Just have a designated area, right? A butterfly garden.
That's right.
You can do that, yeah.
So yeah, it's all. Don't spray weeds in the fall.
Yeah. Leave those fallen leaves. Like, you don't have to rake all those up again.
I disagree with that.
Do we want them to be messy
I think you
or
should
not?
spray your weeds in the fall. One time, you know, like mid to late September. That's really the most effective time to kill weeds in the lawn.
Okay.
So I wonder if most of the butterflies are pretty much done by then. But anyhow.
Depends, I suppose. Depends on the year
Just
and the warmth.
Again, got to be judicious about this.
That's right.
There's all types of, and everybody, you know what, the other thing, there's no right or wrong here.
No.
You know, like, if my neighbor wants to have a field of dandelions, that's okay. It's all right. I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's all right. And other people want to spray every month, you know, it's your lawn.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the
That's why I'm
butterflies
saying,
can find a
what
different place.
can
They can go to
you do?
Kelsey's yard, you know, that kind of thing.
Get out to the pasture where there's some good alfalfa.
Ah, there you go. You know, and
Good source.
just, moderation is generally a good rule about life.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Again, you don't have to cut back those perennials in the fall.
Right.
And then also just consider planting some of those spring and fall flowering plants. Again, providing that food source throughout our
Right.
whole growing season.
They're hungry every day,
Yeah.
you know, during the growing
Gotta
season.
eat just like us.
So feed them some nice food, some nectar-filled flowers.
There you go. So if you wanted to create a butterfly house, a little bit different, but overall your shape, as you see in this photo, can be unique. The biggest difference is you want to create slots for the entrance for the butterflies, and then fill it with like bark or small tree limbs, things again that's going to attract them, and then place in a spot that's frequented by the butterflies. So that takes a little bit on your end to like monitor and look. Some last advice: natural is better, right? If
Yes.
you want it.
Yes.
It's more inviting, along with naturally breaking down over time as well.
Yes.
Ensure that your landscape is diversified. So you talked about like just creating a spot. So maybe you designate a really small spot of your lawn to be a bee lawn or a butterfly garden.
Right.
If you like. As Tom's rolling his eyes.
No, flowers can be good for us and for pollinators.
Oh,
Right? We can all enjoy them.
that's right.
You know, I'm all for it. And nature is, I'm with you 100% on that nature stuff. That's, it's important to appreciate nature for what it is
Right.
and
I
not
would
try
agree.
to focus on dominating it. Yep, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And with diversity in the landscape is great. Like
Yeah.
you say, spring flowers, summer flowers, fall flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different shrubs, different
Good
all
for
of it.
butterflies, good for bees, good for us.
That's right. Wildflowers, or again, if you have wildflowers or even some of those perennials, if you make cuts at varying heights, that's going to help for them as well. And then, like I said, even consider adding some of those pollinator plants into your lawn. So, talk again. Maybe when NDSU has that official publication, you can look at
Well, you know, it's mainly focused on
bees,
clover,
clover. That's right.
you know, so less aggressive strains of like Dutch clover,
Mm-hmm.
Dutch white clover. So, and there's a lot of information out there. Like, and you mentioned that Xerxes
Yeah.
source. That's a great source for butterfly information.
They
That is
are.
the place.
Top notch.
Yeah. So
Top notch.
that's
Great.
a good place to look for good quality scientific information, and NDSU's on this too because they have a good sense, a good pulse on our communities that they're interested. They're just like you, Kelsey. They're really interested in pollinators.
As is the Game and Fish, too. They got a lot of resources, too, on their website. So, another good spot. So, hopefully, I inspired some people to just say, let's be a little more natural. Let's make sure we can, even though our winter's cold, try to provide some protection for those overwintering butterflies.
That's right.
And pollinators.
Let it be.
Let it
I like
be.
that the best.
Let it be.
That's a good thing. Nature. Let it be.
All right, so let's switch gears.
That's right. I'm not going to talk about pollinators.
That's all good. That's why I covered it. I talked about what you can do now yet to keep those pollinators happy.
I'm going to talk about what you can do now, too.
Okay, what can we
And
do
so
now?
I call my talk Last Dance.
Ooh.
Okay, Kelsey. Growing season, it's coming to an end. And frost has finally came to Bismarck.
That's right.
It has utterly destroyed our tomatoes, and it's frozen our roses and other flowers. But the last song is playing for the season, and it's time for us to get busy.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about some things that we can do here at the end of the year in our last dance of 2025.
I did
growing
hear
season.
we broke a record too.
Yeah, in
for the
Bismarck.
latest date, right?
That's
on
right.
record for
Bismarck.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Look at that.
So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Global warming.
What kind of last minute
Probably
tasks?
probably will be the earliest spring ever next year. Who knows? That's
Wow, that'd be cool.
just no. Or the earliest spring. Earliest spring for us. So you want to have the shortest winter possible. I support that.
That's the goal. That
I
is
agree
the goal.
with that. Longest growing season. Okay, so what things we can do right now? One thing is you got to clean up the mess from the party that you had this year.
Oh yeah.
And I getting reports all across the state. There was a lot with the rains we had throughout much of the state. Powdery mildew. If your garden got full of diseased plants, you need to get out the old rototiller, right, Kelsey? Right?
Clean it out.
Destroy those soil microbes, right? Like that evil rototiller, like we always kid about. And but you got to clean up the garden, get rid of those diseased areas. And with, like underneath the apple tree, it's very important that you rake up any fallen apples because insects can overwinter. They may be in those apples and they can burrow down into the soil, right next to those bumblebees, those
That's
pregnant
right.
bumblebees. And also rake the leaves, especially if your tree had any disease on it. Let's get the fungus out.
diseased
Or like
trees.
lilacs got a lot of disease this year.
Yeah.
So rake up, if you can, underneath the lilacs, get rid of that old disease material. Otherwise, the disease will survive winter and infect the plant next spring. So good sanitation is really helpful now. The other thing we can do is you can start preparing for next year's party in our soil test. And so now's a good time to get a soil test because you'll get the results and then you can make the modifications now or early next spring and get the ball rolling really good. So to take a soil test, it's really easy. I just get a 5-gallon pail, clean pail, and you want to get a good representation of your garden. So if our garden here is this golden box here, what I want to do is I just don't want to take the sample from one area of the garden. I want to take from random spots. Like say I was taught in Wisconsin, make a W. Make like 5 little shovelfuls, go about 4 to 6 inches deep, and put them in a bucket, and then mix them together, and then submit a sample about a cup or 2. Now the NDSU soil testing lab closed. But we have other sources. One of the University of Minnesota has a soil testing lab, and there's a company called AgVice that's very popular. And here's just an example of an AgVice lab form, and they'll provide you with you can send your soil to AgVice. Just go to their website and download the form, fill out the form, send in the soil sample, and they'll get you a report and tell you all the things you need to do, whether it's your lawn or your garden. Okay, so now's a good time to get a soil test if you want to. For lawns, I get this question often now. Is like, should I cut my lawn the last time? And it's generally recommended. I like cutting my lawn tall through the growing season because the tall turf has deeper roots and keeps the soil cooler because the turf shades the soil. But the last cut, it should not be tall. It should be like I cut my lawn at about 3 to 3.5 inches, but the last one I bring it down a little bit to like 2.5 inches, because a tall lawn is bad over winter. A tall lawn, the grass blades can mat down and trap fungi. Okay, we don't want mold in our lawn. The other thing is tall grass leads to more
Ugh.
vole problems. So we don't want that.
That's right.
So your last cut, and I usually do mine around this time of year, is cut a little bit, at least, I would say cut a little bit lower. Don't go nuts about it. Don't like cut it down to an inch. That's going to cause stress to the turf. But just a little bit lower than normal is the best way to handle it. Are you with me on that, Kelsey?
Yep, I made that probably a week or so ago already.
Okay.
And it looks...
You're always ahead of me.
Well,
It's just the way it is.
it was a
That's your
nice day,
personality.
and I thought, this is probably going to be the last cutting. Let's just get it done.
Get it over with.
Put that lawnmower away. I mean, I
Yeah.
will say my lawn still looks really
It
nice,
does.
though.
It really looks great
Yeah.
with the moisture we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to get mine done around Halloween. Pick
Yeah.
a day in the 50s, wear my winter coat and rev it up and get it done. Okay, another thing is people doing right now is they're harvesting carrots. A lot of people, again, I work with a lot of gardeners, and we do carrot trials, and they say, Tom, I got to wait till I get a hard frost because my carrots will be sweeter if if I let them in the ground. But once the ground gets frozen, you got to get them out before the ground is frozen. But a lot of people have been harvesting carrots like the last week in Bismarck. And so I just thought I'd talk about how you can store the carrots. And the best way to do that is you should carefully dig them up using a spading fork there. And then cut the tops off. You should leave about a half inch, quarter inch, half inch of the top. And then shake off the excess soil. And some people wash their carrots before they store them. Some people don't. Some people, they wait to wash them till they take them out of storage. But it's either way is okay. But if you do wash your carrots, you got to make sure they're perfectly air dried before you store them. Otherwise, they're going to get diseases. And carrots like to be stored under cool temps, like 35 degrees, like kind of like a refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And high humidity is best for carrots. So there you go. That way you can have your carrots throughout much of the winter. Okay. Another thing you should do is you should wrap your trees before winter comes, okay? So here's an apple tree, and it's got a white tree guard. Now, the reason why we do this, we wrap a tree, is not to provide warmth to the tree. Instead, we want to keep the trunk, well, first we want to keep it protected from wildlife, and so that these tree guards help with that. But also, we want to keep the trunk cool over winter. And so, for example, here's like a maple tree out at Bismarck Post Office, and maples and lindens have thin bark. They're very susceptible to winter injury. Same with fruit trees. And so what happened on this maple tree a long time ago is this is on the south or west side of the tree on a warm day in March. The sun beat down on the bark, and it got so warm on that southern side and the western side of the tree that afternoon that the cells got activated. Okay, and when cells they get out of their dormancy and they get activated. And so then what happened is the sun goes down, it gets bitter cold, and those active cells freeze. And when water freezes, it bursts. And that causes this bursting, and it causes a crack. You can see it on almost every maple on the south or west side and a lot of fruit trees. They see this narrow crack, and that occurs from winter injury. So to prevent this trunk from warming up, that's another reason why we have a white tree guard to reflect that afternoon heat. Or you can use burlap or craft paper, but we want to reflect the afternoon winter sun to keep the trunk cool. And then we take off the wrapping when the danger of frost is over. Okay, so put on that wrapping now and then take it off in the springtime. You with me on that, Kelsey?
I bet. You bet.
Another thing is that watering. Halloween, it's a nice idea to give a nice Halloween treat to evergreens before winter, because then we can fill up their needles full of moisture so they can withstand the drying winter winds. But I would say this year there's no drought here.
Right.
So this is if there's already moisture in the ground, there's no need to water. But
I just had that question the other day about deep
Listen,
watering their arborvitaes.
I'm a very timely person.
I
This is the time
know.
we talk here. Yeah, arborvitae, with those flat needles, they're
Right.
very sensitive to winter drying. So, yeah, the ground is not frozen, and so in general, I like to give I recommend giving evergreens a nice a nice Halloween treat before the ground freezes. But there's no drought here, very little drought in North Dakota, period. So it's less required this year. But you know, if in general, if the soil's already moist, don't water it. You don't want to.
That's right.
Don't
I
want
told
the
her to
trees
check her soil.
Yeah, wow. Such good advice.
We're on the right
There you
pathway there of thinking, right?
Okay. One other thing we can talk about is that was a great time to plant tulips, and there's all kinds of beautiful tulips. There's the lighter shades, the bright shades. Now's a great time to. You should plant tulips as soon as possible so they have a chance to root in before the ground gets frozen. When you select any type of bulb, tulips, daffodils, any bulb, I want the biggest bulb because that big bulb is going to have lots of food inside, and it's going to have a flower bud inside. The bigger the bulb, the better. And for tulips, if you look at the fine print and get out your reading glasses, you can see how the diameter, and you want something, if possible, 12 plus centimeters is best, but a lot of them are 11 to 12. That's okay, but just keep in mind, the bigger the bulb, the better. It should be firm, not soft, and then when you plant bulbs, plant them in clumps to maximize the impact, the effect of the colors. Don't plant a straight line of pink tulips. Plant a cluster of pink tulips, and you'll have a greater effect. Okay? Bigger is the better.
There are a lot of tulips in the stores right now.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
Yep. And pick a sunny site. Soil has to be well drained. Don't put it in a low spot. And there's directions on how, for tulips generally, it's about 6 inches apart and 6 to 8 inches deep. And then you put a little bulb fertilizer on top, or after you cover them up, you can sprinkle some bulb fertilizer in the soil and then water them in so they get active. And then we'll mulch them in November. We don't want to mulch them now. We want, because mulch acts as an insulator. And so we want the ground, want the tulips to get to root in, and then wait till the ground freezes and then put the mulching down. If you put the mulching down now, also you can attract rodents. And I know how much you like rodents. So let's wait until November, like mid-November in most years, when the ground's frozen, and then we can put the mulch on. But if you want to just plant in pots, it's very easy to grow tulips in pots indoors. This is called forcing tulips. You're forcing them to bloom under unnatural conditions. And like, here's a pot. And here, with the tulips, you plant them closer here, almost like one tulip apart in the pot. And then you're not gonna plant them 6 to 8 inches deep. You're gonna be very shallow. And so here you can see how I spaced them out in the pot. And then I'm just gonna cover them up just barely, so you can almost see the top of the tulip bulb. Okay, and then then you water them in to activate them. And then you put them in like a cool situation, like above a refrigerator is perfect, like 40 degrees is best. And they have to have a winterizing treatment. And so they're gonna want about 14 weeks of winter. And then actually for like an unheated garage works great for this, for me. And then they'll naturally actually start coming up after about 14 weeks. They'll start waking up for you. And then you bring them indoors, and about a month later or 3 weeks later, you'll have beautiful flowers in the pot.
There you go.
So anybody can grow tulips, whether or not you have a garden outside or anything. Just have a refrigerator, or
there you go.
Just an unheated garage. My wife doesn't like me to put tulips in the refrigerator. Tulips are for food. But when I was a bachelor, I had lots of tulips, and I was a crazy boy. Okay, anyhow. Okay, we talked about things that we should be doing in our last dance, but just like sometimes the clock runs out, like
That's
on
right.
Cinderella's here with her slipper here.
Yeah.
Bad time. So some things I think you really should be cautious about doing. And one is fertilizing the lawn. You know, I see people I hear these commercials on the radio about, oh, now it's a great time, or I see these TV commercials from Scott's or, these national commercials. Oh, feed your lawn, feed on. No, lawn, you should have done this in a month ago. That's what you should have done. So if you fertilize now, I mean, it's not a sin to do this, but we want our lawn to slow down and focus on root development and go dormant. Prepare for winter. Don't feed it now. It wants to go to bed. So if you feed it now, there's a risk that you're going to wake it up and it may have some succulent growth, and that could be winter injured. So really, probably, I can't recommend fertilizing the lawn this time of year. It's just too late. Just deal with it.
That's right.
Wait till Memorial Day. How about seeding a lawn? Of course, now I learned about bare spots. I got to leave my bare spots in my lawn for those pregnant bumblebees to grow in the ground. But if you want, it's really too late to put grass seed down now. So, because the grass seed will germinate, but it won't get established before that evil winter comes. So don't seed your lawn now. It's too late. But if you want to, you can wait till like Thanksgiving time. Month. Yeah. And then that's called dormant seeding. You can find out about that. And then you scatter the lawn seed on the soil, just rake it a little bit, and then you just hope and pray. It won't germinate because it's so cold outside, but you just hope that it doesn't wash out or the birds don't eat all that seed. But so some people like dormant seeding. I'm not a big fan of it, especially like on a slope or something. It's going to wash out for sure. But that's one option. Some people use dormant seeding. And because then the advantage is the seed will naturally germinate when the soil warms up in the spring. You don't have to be monkeying around with the soil in the spring when it's kind of wet. Okay, so but don't seed your lawn now, today, late October. Do not do it. Okay, it's too late. It's too late, baby. It's too late. That's another song. Here's another thing about evergreens. Like we talked about, it's good to give your evergreens a drink, but I'm not very comfortable about planting evergreens this time of year.
Oof.
And I always see like these tree spades out there, and these guys putting these giant evergreens out there. You know, like when you plant a tree, from the nursery to your yard, it lost over 90% of its feeding roots, at least. And so now you plant the tree right now at this time of year, right before the ground freezes, and those needles are there. You know, they're exposed to winter wind. I'm not a big fan of planting. I really don't see any advantage to planting evergreens this time of year. Except unless they're going to give me like 99% off or something, like a great sale. But spring is a better time to plant.
Right.
You know, we're heading into a stressful time for evergreens. Okay, mulching. We talked about that. Now is not the time to mulch, because we want the ground to freeze, and then the mulch will help to keep the ground frozen and prevent the freezing and thawing, the moving of the soil. So for like your strawberries and such, let's just wait until, again, around Thanksgiving time, and that's a good time to put the mulch once the ground's frozen. And the last thing is that I'm not a fan of pruning right now. You know, if I want the trees and shrubs to be totally dormant to minimize stress on the plant. And I don't want the wounds to be open all winter to those drying winds. So I like waiting till like March or April to do any pruning. So I don't recommend pruning this time of year. Okay, so those are things we can do, and really things we shouldn't be doing this time of year. So, you know, it is time. It's time, the end of the season, time for the last dance. But again, just a little bit of dancing out in the garden right now, a little bit of work that we do right now can give us a very beautiful springtime. So that's my last dance.
I kind of want to go now see what's available for tulip bulbs.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there you go. You inspired me.
Another thing, another thing that I think is a fun thing to do, especially for kids, is next to the tulips, you'll often see paper white narcissus. They don't need a cooling period.
No.
So you don't have to wait 14 weeks of cooling. You just plant them, and it's really cool. Okay, here's what you do. Let's see how much time we got. Okay,
we got time.
Okay,
Let's talk about it.
So you got the paper white. Again, bigger the better, the bulbs.
Right.
And also, the other time, like sometimes if you wait too late, the bulbs start getting soft at the store. You know, we want firm, healthy bulbs. So with the paper whites, first of all, get a glass bowl so you can see the roots.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. So just go to the dollar store. Or was it the $1.25 store now? So go to the $1.25 store, and you can get these beautiful glass vases for $1.25 or whatever. And then you don't plant them in black or topsoil. Plant them in rocks. Okay, plant them in rocks. and there's even decorative rocks, but just or any rocks. And then you plant the bulb. Same thing, just so the top of the bulb is right near the surface, the very tip. And then what happens? Then you just water, and then like you put the water down on the paper whites, just so the water is barely touching the bottom of the bulb. Don't fill up the bowl, because it's a bowl now. It doesn't have drainage holes, and so just put the water so it's just barely touching the bulb, so the bulb doesn't rot. But then you'll see the roots started popping out before you know it. And you can watch those roots grow, and the plants will grow. And then, man, it's like a 1-month project. It's like instant gratification. So what's the only problem with paper whites?
Well, then they're done.
They stink. That's the problem.
Right.
They smelly.
Yeah.
So that's the only drawback of them. But they're not really that fragrant. But they're still so fun. And then, then you got to throw them out. Same with any bulb you force.
Right.
Indoors. It had a hard life, and it's not going to bloom again. So, or if you don't want to, just forget my idea. You can plant them in a pot that's well drained, put them in topsoil. But the nice thing about paper whites is they don't need a cooling period. And so that's kind of exciting. And or if we want to, we can talk about this in future episodes, but amaryllis is another one.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a cooling period. And you see the amaryllis bulbs now at the garden centers. The bigger the bulb, the better. Always keep that in mind. And I'm sure we'll talk about how to grow amaryllis at a future episode of Dakota growing. But that's another fun one for kids or the young at heart. And, because they grow so fast, and it's so magnificent.
It's a good way to, even though it's getting colder, do something indoor, right? That's right. Keep your gardening.
Get a house plant,
alive.
right? Is that that's another thing. Like, so you can grow house plants too. That's lots of episodes. I'm a silk plant guy myself.
I know you are.
They're low maintenance. Yeah. And but there's lots of things we can still do now.
That's right. That's right.
What else going on?
That's my advice.
How the
for
bees
today.
feeling today?
I didn't go check.
They're a little bit cool.
I bet they're a little cold. Is right.
And the bumblebees probably got froze out, like the wasp. I don't see wasp anymore.
No.
They've same thing as the bumblebee. They're done. The queen makes a male and a female, and they have fun, and females go and hide, and everybody else dies in the nest.
That's right.
That's nature.
Just the flies, like we talked about.
Yeah, right.
Box elder bugs.
Box elder bugs. Exactly. Wow. A lot of. It's a transition time in nature right now, right? The days are getting shorter, and it's getting colder, and
I think it's not this weekend, but the following weekend, November 2nd, those old clocks go back.
Oh, is that right? That's a good one, because you get an extra hour of sleep.
It is, but then it's just like, even now, the other night I was outside, and I was like, oh my gosh, girls, you got to get in, you got to get bath. It's like bedtime. They're going, and I was paying no attention. They're like, can we play for a while? It's like, no, it's bedtime. I looked at the clock, and I'm like,
6 o'clock.
It was 7:30. I thought we were pushing 9 o'clock already.
Yeah, and then you wake up in the morning like
dark,
driving the kids to school, and it's dark. Wow.
It's dark.
Hey, man, that's the way it is.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, we just want to tell everybody thank you for joining us on today's episode of Dakota Growing. And, of course, sounds like we got some topic ideas for future ones. And so we hope that you will.
Stimulating discussion coming up ahead.
That's right.
Lots of arguments and discussion.
That sounds good. Okay. We hope that you'll join us on our future episodes.
Dakota Growing is a gardening show brought to you by Dakota Media Access and NDSU Extension. We discuss a variety of timely topics pertaining to your landscape, along with giving you tips and advice for your lawn, garden, and trees. If you have questions, call 701-221-6865 or email ndsu.burley.extension@ndsu.com. Dakota Growing airs on Radio Access 102.5 FM, Community Access Channel 12 or 612 HD, or online at freetv.org.